There is a pain that many parents have never realized until it is far too late. It is the moment when you see your child standing in a room full of people, yet somehow seeming to slowly disappear. Around them, other children are running, laughing, calling each other's names, chirping like little birds. But your child just stands still in a corner, two hands tightly clasped together, eyes lowered, shoulders slightly drawn inward as if they are trying to make themselves smaller, so small that no one notices them. Then a voice breaks the silence. "Don't be so shy." It sounds harmless. It even sounds like encouragement. But the painful truth is, many children are not silent because they are weak. They are silent because they have begun to believe that who they truly are is not good enough to be accepted. And what is the greatest tragedy? Sometimes, the very people who love them the most are the ones who unintentionally plant that painful belief into their hearts. Many parents think confidence has a very clear shape. It is a lively child, a child who always raises their hand to speak, a child who dares to speak loudly, dares to express themselves, dares to stand out in a crowd. We often admire children like that. We call them strong, capable, natural leaders. But very few people stop to ask themselves, what if your child is not that kind of child? What if your child needs more time to open up? What if your child prefers to observe before entering a conversation? What if your child experiences the world more deeply, more sensitively, more slowly? Is that truly a problem? Or is it simply because this world has become too accustomed to celebrating those who are loud? True confidence is often misunderstood. Many people mistakenly believe confidence means talking a lot, always taking initiative, never feeling afraid. But no, a person who speaks loudly is not necessarily at peace inside. An extroverted child does not necessarily truly love themselves. There are people who appear dazzling in front of crowds, yet every night they sink into the feeling that they are not good enough. True confidence is not the ability to overpower others. It is the ability to exist fully without feeling ashamed of who you are. A truly confident child does not have to be the most outstanding one. Instead, it is a child who can think, "I am allowed to be myself. I do not need to pretend to be someone else in order to be loved." That is the real root. And a child's lack of confidence rarely begins with failure. It often begins with a vague feeling. There is something about me that other people do not like. The frightening part is, that belief rarely comes from one major event. It does not necessarily come from severe trauma. It is often built from hundreds of tiny moments, so small that adults do not remember them. A sigh when the child asks too many questions, an impatient glance, a sentence that seemed accidental. "Why are you always like this?" A comparison with other children. "Look at that child." A push. "You need to be braver." Adults say these things and forget, but children do not. Children hold on to emotions longer than we think, because children do not yet have enough ability to analyze adult behavior logically. They interpret everything through feeling. The child does not think, "Mom is tired today, so she is irritable." The child thinks, "Maybe I am bothering Mom." The child does not think, "Dad is stressed because of work." The child thinks, "I am disappointing Dad." And little by little, a small voice begins forming inside the child. Don't bother anyone. Don't talk too much. Don't make mistakes. Don't disappoint anyone. At first, that voice is very small, but year after year, it grows, until it becomes the most familiar voice inside the child's mind. There is a kind of pain that is incredibly quiet. It is when a child feels that the love around them is conditional. No one directly tells the child, "You deserve love only when you are good." But children still feel it. Through the way their parents' eyes light up when they achieve something, through tenderness that appears only when they behave well, through praise that comes only when they win. Slowly, the child learns a dangerous formula. My worth is tied to results. Love is tied to achievement. Acceptance is tied to not making mistakes. That is where perfectionism begins. Many adults living with anxiety today were once very obedient children, too obedient. Obedient to the point of not daring to disappoint their parents. Obedient to the point of hiding bad grades. Obedient to the point of smiling while completely exhausted inside. And then they grow up. They become people who look successful on the outside. But deep inside, there is always a haunting feeling. I am still not enough. The paradox is, many parents push their children because they love them. They want their children to be strong. They want them to be ready for a competitive world. They do not want them to be left behind. But that very fear unintentionally places pressure on the child. They push the child outward more, force them to adapt faster, demand that they overcome fear immediately. With the hope, if you are strong enough, you will not be hurt. But confidence does not grow under pressure, it grows in safety. A child truly dares to step into the world, only when they know that if they fail, there is still a place to return to. If they are rejected, there is still someone beside them. If they make mistakes, their worth does not disappear. That is the foundation of confidence, not perfection, not superiority, but the feeling of safety in connection. When your child runs to you and says, "I'm scared," the instinct of many parents is to immediately correct the child's emotions. What is there to be afraid of? It's okay. You need to be stronger. But sometimes, what the child needs is not a solution. It is understanding. Imagine what happens if you respond like this. "I understand. That really feels hard for you." It's okay to feel that way. Just a few sentences, yet your child's entire inner world can change. Because they no longer have to fight their emotions alone. They begin to understand that emotions are not enemies. Fear is not something shameful. Anxiety does not mean weakness. They learn that they can feel afraid and still keep moving forward. That is courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite fear. Confidence also does not appear overnight. It does not explode in one magical moment. It is built from very small victories. Ordering food alone once, asking the teacher a question once, daring to say, "I don't understand," daring to say, "No." Adults often overlook these moments because they seem too ordinary, but for a child, these are the bricks that build identity. Every small victory sends a message into the brain. I did it. I made it through. I can handle hard things. Little by little, the story inside the child changes. From, "I'm not good enough," to, "I can try," then into, "I can do hard things," and there is something many parents do not realize. Your child learns confidence from you, more than from what you teach. Not only from your words, but from the way you live. Your child watches you every day. How do you react when you make mistakes? What do you say to yourself when you fail? How do you treat yourself? If every time you make a mistake you blame yourself, "I am so useless," your child is learning. If every failure brings shame and self-hatred, your child is learning. And one day, when they make a mistake, they will use that same voice on themselves. Not because they were born harsh, but because they were taught that way. But if, when you make mistakes, you can calmly say, "I made a mistake. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes," your child will learn something priceless too. Mistakes do not erase your worth. Failure does not define who you are. This is also why praise matters more than we think. Do not praise your child only when they win. Do not praise them only when the result is perfect. Praise effort. Praise persistence. Praise courage. Praise the fact that they kept trying even while afraid. Because a child who is loved for effort will not grow up fearing that they must be perfect in order to deserve love. And finally, perhaps the greatest goal of parenting is not raising the most outstanding child. Not the child at the top of the class, not the smartest child, not the child admired by everyone. It is raising a human being who can walk into the world without hating themselves. A human being who can say, "I think differently. I need more time. That hurt me. I disagree. A human being who does not need to shrink themselves to be accepted, who does not need to wear a mask to be loved, who does not need to be perfect to feel worthy of existing. So, if your child is still timid today, please do not rush to fix them. Please do not rush to feel disappointed. Maybe what they need is not stronger pressure, but someone gentle enough to help them believe in something deeply important. They do not need to become someone else in order to deserve love. All it takes is for a child to truly believe that, and confidence will begin to grow. Slowly, quietly, but incredibly strong from within.